All right, so Borderlands 4 has been out for almost 5 months now, and I've got some things I want to say about it. First off, as the title says, I do think it's a good game. There's just not a lot of it, and what is there is hindered by other issues. I mean, I've spent 666 hours in the game. That was not intentional, but I've obviously got a lot out of it, but there is just so much untapped potential that it's frustrating seeing it not being taken advantage of. Imagine this, all right? You're stuck in a soundproof glass box and are forced to watch, let's just say, your best friend as they walk by $50,000 just laying there. You scream and you scream saying, pick up the money, but they just can't hear you. In this analogy, you are obviously you, your friend is Borderlands 4, and that bag of money is all of these seemingly simple fixes that could help this game thrive. I know that there are DLCs coming that could help the game and stuff, but I frankly don't have faith that they will keep players playing for long because I think the real issues are just built into the game already. I've got a few topics I want to cover today, so let's start with the first one, which is the infamy system. So if you're unfamiliar, BL4 has a system where enemies in the world will scale up based on the amount of side content that you've done. This sounds good on paper, but in practice, I think the system is incredibly arbitrary, random, and unfun. I think forcing side content is an issue, and it takes away from the open world choose your own adventure angle that BL4 was going for. It also doesn't help that the side content you need to do is often over-leveled as well, further removing the path choice from any given run. The side content often seemingly does nothing and leaves me wondering how much it helps or even if it helped at all. I have a Borderlands 4 challenge video in the works, and without spoiling too much, many times throughout that run, I would find a boss that was just way too high of a level. So I would do a ton of side missions to come back and see that he is the exact same level. Now, while that sounds like it would make sense, like why would he drop in level? Well, two reasons. One, in other playthroughs where I did more side content preemptively, the same boss was a lower level when I got to them. This to me is an indicator that it seems like trying to play with the infamy system in mind only works if you do it preemptively. And the second reason I think the boss should drop in level is because if I'm 5 levels under the boss and go to do contracts and level up 5 times, the boss also shouldn't level up with me. But they often do, making those 5 levels that you just grinded for pointless. And it's so frustrating not knowing what the game wants from you. And I think if I could pick how to scale the game, I would make it so everything just scales to your level except the main missions, where those enemies should just have a minimum level. Because as of right now, we don't really know what's gonna help. Like, are the side missions we're doing helping? We don't really have like an infamy meter to see progress. And for that reason, everything just kind of feels like a shot in the dark, which is just not fun. And that's why I kind of think that just minimum level scaling on the story missions would promote more freedom of choice in people's playthroughs and overall make it more enjoyable. The infamy system made to promote more side content play just falls flat here, and I think most people would agree. P.S. The level 30 start saves also suffer from this because pretty much every boss that you would want to farm on your end game ready character is 7 levels over you, so you have to grind anyway. All right, let's move on to the next topic, dedicated drops. Quick recap, the game launched with 3 legendary loot pools, and on average, a boss would have a 3%, a 4.5%, and a 6% dedicated drop. Now, this was a huge issue because parts matter more than ever in BL4, and things like the bod shotgun, for example, sucked to farm at 3%. And now the devs stated that they purposefully made certain legendaries more rare based on their power, and that the drop rates being all set to 12 during the holiday event, that most people love by the way, made things drop too often. I want you to remember these 2 points. Stronger stuff should be rare, and 12% is too high. A week after the event, they decided to buff the rates from 3, 4.5, and 6 to 3, 6, and 9, which was a complete nothing burger, and frankly, I felt like I was being punked at the time. It wasn't until a few days later that we found out that this was the first part of a 2-part drop rate update. I found it slightly irritating that there was no mention of this, and I had to find it from dev replies on Twitter instead of any type of game plan or anything like that, but that's a whole different story. 2 weeks later, the patch came out and they boofed drop. They passed the boof. 2 weeks later, we got an update that made drops more common in UVHM ranks and moved the bod from the 3% drop pool to the 9% drop pool, which sounds good, but I've got some issues with this. First off, new game runs still suffer. I'm going to be saying that a lot, so get used to it. Second, if you're in UVHM, the game is practically already over already. There is no endgame content, and the endgame climb is not fun, so once you're at the top, all you have is farming, which is not good. And third, it kind of goes back on those 2 points that they made earlier. If you wanted stronger legendaries to be in the rarer drop pool, why go back and move the bod to the 9%? The remaining drops in the 3% are mostly bad anyway, so this whole system just feels arbitrary from the start. And if a flat 12% drop rate was too high, why are we making them 21% at UVH6 now? That's like BL3 levels of high in my opinion. The community has said time and time again that they just want their basic drop rates back. BL4 is the 4th game in a row now where we've had farming issues, and now they've pretty much just brought loot luck back with this patch. It's just very frustrating to watch unfold like this. I know farming is faster than ever in Borderlands 4, and I don't hate the idea of UVH ranks being more rewarding and increasing drop rates, but this is drastically overtuned. I also find the further I get into the game, the faster I can kill bosses, meaning an early game run with a 3% drop rate for something I'm looking for, and I have to do a 5-minute fight, versus an end game farm where it's a 5-second fight because I can one-shot them with a 20%, just feels backwards, feels very backwards. I think the people that struggle with the fight and survive a harder fight deserve the drop more, if that makes sense. So the fact that the base rates are just so low is just baffling to me. It's also like, if some guns are going to be rarer than others, they should just be a different rarity. Save the rare chase for the pearls when those come out. I don't want perfect rolls to be really easy to get. I think there should be rare versions of guns, but with the base drop of any version being so low, it's just not good for new game runs, and new game runs suffer. And for these reasons, I think drops should just be a flat rate. Even just like 8% across the board. And then if they wanted UVH ranks to increase it, make them increase it by 1% per rank. I seen a dev on Twitter say that they plan on maxing it out at 7 UVHM ranks. So a nice 15% at the very end sounds perfect to me. Hashtag bring back flat rates, please. Hey guys, Future Gas Mask here with a little bit of an update. So today is March 5th, 2026, and they actually just dropped a patch making it so that all the legendary drops are now a flat rate, which is extremely awesome to see. It looks like they just moved everything to the primary 9% pool, so drops are going to be 9% at the base game, and if you go all the way up to UVH6, they're going to be 21%. I think that 21 might be a little too high, but this is a great change in my opinion. This is what a majority of players wanted from the get-go. I'm still going to keep this whole section of the video in because frankly, it's crazy it was ever at that point, but this is huge news. Anyway, back to the rant. All right, next topic, dialogue skip. This game needs dialogue skip. Like needs it, like bad. One of the core endgame systems they chose to implement in BL4 was the weekly wildcard missions that allow you to replay a mission you've done, and then once you complete the mission, you get that week's legendary item. Now this sounds good, but then you realize a lot of these missions have chores, driving, and way too much dialogue. And now I thought the story for BL4 was just fine, but if you design a mission replay mechanic and every time I complete the mission, I have to sit there and listen to 3 minutes of dialogue, it will make me hate the characters, it will make me hate the story, and it will make me hate doing the wildcard missions. Also, 3 minutes is not an exaggeration. One of the first weekly missions in BL4's life cycle had over 3 minutes of dialogue every time you completed it. Here's a clip of me complaining about it way back then.
My absolution depends on it.
3 minutes and 3 seconds of dialogue we just had to wait through. Gearbox, if you want this fucking game to succeed, bro, we gotta skip the commercials. We need a dialogue skip for missions we've already played if you want us replaying them. On top of the mission replays being one thing, if it's not your very first playthrough of BL4 ever, the dialogue can feel so long. New game runs will suffer without a dialogue skip. There are plenty of funny moments that I'd probably love replaying, but a lot of it's just filler and waiting, and I want to shoot things. It's Borderlands. I want to loot and I want to shoot. And now I know I'm not a game dev and I don't know a lot of the intricacies of stuff, but you would figure that a dialogue skip would be a pretty simple fix. But I guess not, because the devs make it sound like it's just not possible because how the game was built. This does frustrate me because they literally made an entire video game with crazy boss fights, millions of guns, and crazy skills, but they can't just skip words? It feels especially crazy when you realize that a modder made a mod that does this like 1 month into the game's life cycle, and to my knowledge has very minimal bugs. And if the devs say we probably shouldn't use that mod because it could hardlock us, I take that as all the more reason for the devs to implement it properly. And let's say even if it was impossible to add a dialogue skip to the game for some weird reason, why build a game like that in the first place after BL3 notoriously needed a dialogue skip because of all the waiting? There's literal speedrun categories in BL3 where they mod the game to not have dialogue because it's just a funner category that way. Anyway, yeah, I think the game needs a dialogue skip, and frankly, I find it crazy that it wasn't here on launch. All right, the next topic I want to hit, TVHM/playthrough reset. This game needs an optional playthrough reset very badly. I say optional because I think the 3 mandatory playthroughs that BL2 had was a bit excessive, and honestly, I think BL3 did it perfect with the optional TVHM that was resettable. You know, in BL3, you don't need to do TVHM. You could just do Mayhem 10 right then and there if you want. But if you can do a full Mayhem 10 playthrough using TVHM. And BL4 just doesn't have that. You can't replay the game with the Vault Hunter you've already put a bunch of work into at a higher UVH rank to make a more challenging challenge run, playthrough, or anything like that. And it just kills so many things. Like, I've got one BL4 vid planned, and honestly, with how bad the infamy system was, that's the only one I plan on doing unless they add an optional playthrough reset so I can just do a geared UVH 6 or whatever level it will be at the time playthrough, because that's just how I like doing it, and that's how a lot of people like playing the game. And honestly, Wonderlands had the same issue where there was no playthrough 2 or playthrough reset, and it just kills the longevity of the game. Sure, they have the mission resets, but you don't really get anything out of that. It feels clunky, and if you want to stop midway through a mission, you have to restart the whole mission. And it's just not good. It's just not good. I think the best way to add replayability to your game is to let the players replay your game. That is all. All right, on to the next topic. A lot of people are going to hate me for this, but hear me out. We need nerfs. This game is way too easy at the moment, and I know nerfs sound bad in a PvE game, but I fear that if things are not nerfed, they will start scaling enemies' health way too high, and we'll end up with another BL3 100 times enemy health at Mayhem 10, or even a Wonderlands 45 times enemy health at Chaos 100. Those two games are very poorly balanced in my opinion, and I know some people will argue, well, it's more balanced than BL2. Now, I disagree, it's just easier than BL2. Now, BL2 is definitely harder than those two games, but at the absolute max, you will feel 16 times health in enemies if we account for OP level damage reduction. BL3 at Mayhem 10 is literally 100 times enemy health, and I think that's because so many things were broken in that game, and instead of nerfing them, they buffed enemies. And I think this type of balance leads to guns either overperforming or underperforming, and there's very little middle ground. Here's an experiment for Borderlands 3 if you have a max level save right now. Put all of your gear in the bank, pull out the gun, and then just give yourself a bunch of Mayhem 10 legendaries until you have all your slots filled. Sometimes you'll find a gun that can perform in Mayhem 10 just on its own. Those are the power crept weapons that actually do good. But a lot of the times, if you don't have a build ready and you just use whatever Mayhem 10 legendaries you find, you will not have a good time. You will not be able to mob good. You won't be able to boss at all. I've done this test a few times, and every time I usually get one item that can kind of force through Mayhem 10 difficulty, but the rest are just not good. And a lot of these guns are totally fine outside of Mayhem mode. It's just imagine the ones that are good in Mayhem mode playing in non-Mayhem mode. It's just extremely overpowered, and that's why I think it just feels like more of a gear check, and that is not what I want BL4 to turn into. BL3 feels like nothing but a gear check, but I feel like there's a good balance between gear check and skill check that BL4 has the opportunity to do. And now, to be fair, the devs have said they don't plan on balancing around broken stuff like the bot, but they also don't plan on nerfing it anytime soon, which makes sense. because those anti-nerf gremlins can be very feral, and this will inevitably end up upsetting a lot of people that don't realize the ramifications. But when Bloom Reaper came out and I was already able to one-shot a UVH6 true mode raid boss, I was like, dang, this really is a baby game right now. Recently, they did rework some of Harlow's skills, which is good to see that they're actually willing to rework stuff instead of just do number changes in skill damages and such. So that is a green flag in my book. I really hope a lot of skills get reworked, because at the time, I feel like each character just has one build that is better than the rest by a long shot, and there's no reason to use other ones. So hopefully that continues. But yeah, game's too easy right now, and it's too easy to make the game too easy. I'll say that too. You only need a few pieces of gear to actually just do crazy amount of stuff. I mean, even with Rafa, Bullet Buddy, you get at like what, level 11, 16, I forget. It's so busted. It's just so busted because you literally take anything with Torgue stickies and you're set. It's too easy to be too busted. Like, here's me killing Bloom Reaper at UVH6 true mode, and the only thing that I have equipped is a bod shotgun. I cannot fit the whole kill here, but I will have a link to the full fight in the description in case anyone doesn't believe me, because this actually sounds crazy and I wouldn't believe it if someone told me. Anyway, I know I'm the grueling challenge run guy, and I've done a lot of hard stuff that people don't find fun, so I'm probably a little biased towards the difficulty, but please nerf, just don't nerf stuff into the ground. All right, on to the last topic, and probably the most important one for me, the ultimate Vault Hunter mode climb. I'll just be blunt with this. I think it's bad. I think it's very bad. The test we go through to prove that we're an ultimate Vault Hunter isn't a test of skill. It isn't a test of a build. It's a test of patience with nothing on the line. Having us play a recycled mission we already did, but with modifiers that the community has stated that we hated for so long, is just infuriating. I'm pretty sure every content creator that got to play early before the FanFest said that the centripetal modifier was bad, and when I started my UVHM climb and found out that the first mission was just all centripetal enemies, I felt like I was getting rage baited, genuinely. And a few missions later, I thought things would get tougher and more challenging and more fun. No, this mission has you just kill enemies instantly with a single bullet to the head. Not to mention that these reused missions have all the same like chores you have to do, and also dying means nothing. You could just die in, like, there's no test of skill, there's no challenge to it, and that's a big bummer for me. That was the biggest bummer for Borderlands 4 for me. It just kind of feels like they tried to hit a middle ground for BL2 players who liked earning their difficulty with the peak, and BL3 players who just liked the toggle, but ended up pleasing nobody with it. And so far, everything I've said in this video, I think can still fit into that stuck in a box, watching your friend pass up 50K analogy, because those ideas seemed like simple implementation, at least simple relative to making an entire video game. But this next idea, while I think it would improve the game tenfold, will not be an easy task, and I have zero faith in it actually coming true. But here's how I think they should do the ultimate Vault Hunter mode climb.
So as you can see here, we have the start area, we got a bit of mobbing, sort of halfway boss fight, a checkpoint, and then a little bit more harder mobbing, and then at the end a raid boss, and then the end.
Really breathe it in, folks. This is all Gasgate me.
Now, I know what you're thinking. This is just a BL3 takedown. Yes, I know. Let's take the best part of BL3's endgame and mix it with the best part of BL2's endgame. Like, you know me, I love DigiPeak, but the fact that there's no checkpoints and so many unfair bosses, there's tons of issues with the peak. But the takedowns in BL3 were some of my favorite content in those games, even though I don't really play BL3 that much. Like, imagine instead of turning on the power for Levain again to get UVH1, we instead have a whole fun takedown to do that isn't just recycled missions. Like, imagine being excited for the new takedown to come out and there's a new UVHM rank to unlock when it comes out. That is the feeling I want. That is what I want to look forward to, and so many other people want to look forward to this too. Jolts does, Moxie does, K6 does, Epic, Birdman, Gunther. I tweet all of these thoughts all the time. And a lot of them agree with me, and a lot of other people agree with me too. I'm not saying only content creators should have an opinion. Everyone should have an opinion. That's why I do these polls, to show what the community thinks. I can realize that something I want in the game probably wouldn't fit good. Like one of my stupid ideas for the game is pull a Dark Souls, let people invade you, right? I think that would be funny, but it would be terrible. It'd be terrible for the game. I want it. It'd be terrible for the game. Gearbox, don't do this. If you do anything in this video and you just do this, I'm gonna be so mad, but also laughing my ass off. But seriously, some ideas are bad and some ideas are good. I'm just expressing my ideas because sometimes bad ideas can lead to good ideas. And some of the solutions in this video might not work good, but having takedowns be the UVHM climb would 100% make the game better. Like infinitely, like multiplicatively. Like I'm talking gun damage stat passive on an enhancement multiplicatively. And I know this isn't a simple fix they could just change, and it would take time. They'd have to make like 6 takedowns. We do have 1 takedown planned, but I think it should be 10. I think they should really drill those home, and those would be the best endgame content. That's what so many people are asking for. And if they came out tomorrow and they just said, hey, we're gonna rework the UVH climb to be takedowns instead, it will just take some time, I'd throw a fucking party. I would throw a fucking party. But anyway, yeah. I really want BL4 to succeed, and I see so much potential in it, but as of right now, unless some of these things get fixed, I feel like my time in BL4 is finite. Anyway, I want to end the video like this. I know I'm just one guy, and I know my hopes and wants for this game could be completely different than someone else's, but I really love this game. I just wish there was more. I'll say it, if everything in this video gets changed and the DLCs coming out are good, this could be my favorite game in the series. But as of right now, I'll just be praying over on BL2. Well, that's finally off my chest in video format. I've been saying all this stuff on streams forever. Now I can just link this video to people. Sick. Anyway, thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. If you want more videos like this, make sure to tell me. I usually don't do this. I try to be funny. But yeah, until next time, breathe easy, homies.